नहीं हुआ, unable to log in from this.
नमस्कार। हरियाणा स्टेट टैक्स बार एसोसिएशन करनाल और टैक्स की पाठशाला बाय मनोज लांबा जी द्वारा टीम आपका फायदा और सारे भारत के टैक्स प्रोफेशनल के सहयोग से करवाए जा रहे जीएसटी महायज्ञ जीएसटी ओलंपियाड 2021 लर्न अनलर्न रीलर्न जीएसटी के कार्यक्रम में फिर आपका हार्दिक अभिनंदन है। मैं एडवोकेट जितेंद्र भारती करनाल से। आज इस महायज्ञ का 32वां कार्यक्रम है और आज का विषय है एंटी प्रॉफिटिंग अंडर जीएसटी। आज के इस कार्यक्रम के मुख्य वक्ता हैं एडवोकेट विनय श्राफ जी कोलकाता से और विशेष अतिथि हैं सीए मनोज लांबा जी यमुनानगर से। और सबसे पहले परिचय मुख्य वक्ता जो कि कोलकाता से हैं एडवोकेट विनय श्राफ जी। इज LLB FCA AICWA ACS एडवांस डिप्लोमा इन मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटिंग फ्रॉम CIMA लंदन, practicing as an advocate at various high courts and Supreme Court of India in the area of constitutional matters, direct and indirect taxations. सर विनय श्राफ जी, आज के कार्यक्रम में हम लोगों का ज्ञानवर्धन करने आने के लिए आपका हार्दिक अभिनंदन व आभार।
नमस्कार, बहुत बहुत आभार, धन्यवाद।
आज हमारे साथ पैनलिस्ट के तौर पर सीए साक्षी झाझरिया जी भी हैं। सीए साक्षी झाझरिया जी वर्किंग एज एसोसिएट विद एडवोकेट विनय श्राफ जी, frequent paper presenter at international and national conference organized by ICAI, represented ICAI 33rd ICAC श्रीलंका। मैम साक्षी झाझरिया जी, आज के कार्यक्रम में आपका हार्दिक स्वागत है। कुछ टेक्निकल ग्लिचेस के कारण मैडम
नहीं, उसी इज विथ मी ओनली, वो मेरे साथ है।
ओके।
Hello, thank you so
Hello,
much for the warm introduction. Thank you.
और अब पीछे आज के विशेष अतिथि जो कि यमुनानगर से हैं सीए मनोज लांबा जी। सर मनोज लांबा जी, आज के कार्यक्रम में आपका हार्दिक स्वागत और आपसे गुजारिश करूंगा कि आज के प्रोग्राम के बारे में कुछ कहें।
धन्यवाद जितेंद्र जी। मैं आज के जीएसटी महायज्ञ के इस कार्यक्रम में हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं एडवोकेट विनय श्राफ जी का, साक्षी मैम का, कि उन्होंने अपना कीमती समय हमें आज के प्रोग्राम में इस जीएसटी महायज्ञ में अपनी आहुति डालने के लिए दिया। आज विनय सर हमें एंटी प्रॉफिटिंग के बारे में ज्ञान देंगे। एंटी प्रॉफिटिंग जीएसटी में एक महत्वपूर्ण टॉपिक है कि कोई अनड्यू बेनिफिट जीएसटी का ना ले सके और उसको किसी तरह से उसको प्रॉफिट में कन्वर्ट ना कर सके। इसके लिए एंटी प्रॉफिटिंग के प्रावधान हैं हमारे जीएसटी CGST एक्ट में। ज़्यादा ज्ञान हमें विनय श्राफ जी से मिलेगा जो कि कोलकाता से हैं, और जैसा कि सर ने परिचय दिया कि सर काफ़ी लर्नर्ड पर्सन हैं और काफ़ी सारे वेबिनार्स और सेमिनार्स को अपना वक्तव्य दे चुके हैं। तो मैं ज़्यादा समय ना लेते हुए रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा सीए एडवोकेट विनय श्राफ जी से कि वो अपना वक्तव्य द्वारा हमारा मार्गदर्शन करें, प्लीज।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। मैं मनोज लांबा जी, जितेंद्र जी और बाकी सब अपने ऑर्गेनाइजर कमेटी के मेंबर्स को धन्यवाद देता हूँ फॉर गिविंग मी दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी। तो हम आज एकत्र हुए हैं। ये एम आई सपोज टू कंडक्ट सेमिनार इन हिंदी और इन इंग्लिश?
बोथ लैंग्वेज सर।
मिक्स सर।
मिक्स, ठीक है, मैं प्रयत्न करता हूँ। सो द टॉपिक जो आज का है विच वी हैव असेंबल्ड टू डिस्कस इज एंटी प्रॉफिटियरिंग। ये एंटी प्रॉफिटियरिंग का जो प्रोविजन है, दिस इज नॉट ए परमानेंट फीचर ऑफ द लॉ। ये एक टेम्पोररी प्रोविजन है which was introduced in the law by way of section 171 when the GST law was introduced, only for a period of 2 years. उसके बाद इसकी अवधि 2 साल के लिए और बढ़ा दी गई। तो अब जीएसटी लॉ आने के बाद 4 साल के बाद इसकी अवधि खत्म होती है। लेकिन इस 4 साल की अवधि में अगर किसी ने एंटी प्रॉफिटिंग की है तो ये एंटी प्रॉफिटिंग प्रोविजन लागू होता है बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ सेक्शन 171। सेक्शन 171 talks about the circumstances under which this anti-profiteering provision will be invoked. But before we go into that, let us discuss the reason behind the introduction of this provision in the law in the first place. इसका मुख्य कारण जो था, जो एंटी प्रॉफिटिंग प्रोविजन जब लाया गया तो सरकार को एक एंजाइटी थी कि ये जो जीएसटी लॉ आएगा तो इसका क्या प्रभाव पड़ेगा, ये क्या इन्फ्लेशन होगा, इससे चीजों की वस्तुओं की दाम बढ़ जाएंगे। ये एक तो बहुत बड़ा विषय था और इसका जो गवर्नमेंट का सरकार की जो चिंता का जो कारण था वो था विश्व भर में जो जीएसटी इंट्रोड्यूस करने के बाद जो अलग अलग देशों में जो इसका अनुभव हुआ, वो अनुभव इसके पीछे के एंजाइटी का कारण था। जैसे कि मलेशिया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, कनाडा, इस तरह से कई कंट्रियों में जहां जहां जीएसटी लाया गया, एक्सपीरियंस यही रहा सब जगह कि वो सरकारें बच नहीं पाई। जहां भी जीएसटी आया उस सरकार को जाना पड़ा क्योंकि इसकी वजह से वस्तुओं के मूल्यों की वृद्धि हुई। इसका मुख्य कारण ये था कि जीएसटी आने के बाद मूल्य न बढ़े, इन्फ्लेशन ना आए। तो अब इस मूल्य न बढ़ने को, इन्फ्लेशन ना आने को किस तरह से कंट्रोल किया जाए? तो इसका जो फर्स्ट मेजर था दैट वाज फिटमेंट कमिटी। एक फिटमेंट कमिटी बनाई गई, रेट फिटमेंट कमिटी, जिसने रेट ऑफ टैक्स किसी भी वस्तु का क्या हो अंडर द जीएसटी लॉ, बिकॉज देयर वर 4 रेट ऑफ टैक्स विच वर इंट्रोड्यूस, 5%, 0%, 12%, 18% and 28%. So except a few items which were charged to tax at the rate of 28%, most of the items were in the category of 18%. Item of basic necessities were kept in 5%. Then few other items were kept in 12%. And some items were exempted also. Now, how these rates were determined in the first place? Which item will go to 5%, which item will go to 12%, 18% or 28%? This was decided basically by the fitment committee. अब इसका बेसिस, इसका उन्होंने आधार ये रखा कि मुख्यतः 2 तरह के टैक्स जो प्रधानता जो लग रहे थे किसी भी आइटम पे, वो थे, एक था सेंट्रल एक्साइज जो कि उत्पादन पे था, मैन्युफैक्चर पे था, या था सर्विस टैक्स, अगर वो सर्विस है तो उस पे सर्विस टैक्स था, अगर वो गुड्स है तो उस पे सेंट्रल एक्साइज था। ये थे सेंट्रल के टैक्स, या तो सेंट्रल एक्साइज था या सर्विस टैक्स था। सेकंड जो था वो था वैट या सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स। तो गवर्नमेंट ने जो फिटमेंट कमिटी की जो बनाई, उसमें रेट डिसाइड करने के लिए इन्होंने मुख्य तरह इन 2 टैक्स को जोड़ा और उसके बाद देखा कि वो कहां पड़ता है और अकॉर्डिंगली रेट ऑफ टैक्स का डिसाइड किया। इन मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस द रेट ऑफ टैक्स वाज रेदर रिड्यूस्ड। ये हम लोगों ने बहुत कुछ सुना कि इसका दाम बढ़ गया, उसका दाम बढ़ गया, इस चीज का दाम बढ़ गया, लेकिन मेरे अनुभव में ज्यादातर चीजों का दाम कम होना चाहिए था, क्योंकि आप सेंट्रल एक्साइज की रेट जो उस समय थी वो करीब करीब 16% थी, और वैट की रेट 12.5% थी मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टेट्स में ऑन मोस्ट ऑफ द आइटम्स। तो अगर इसका जोड़ हम लोग देखते हैं तो बेसिक जोड़ ही 28% से ज्यादा आ जाता है, और 28% में हम लोग सब जानते हैं कि बहुत ही कम आइटम्स को रखा गया है, एकदम सिंफुल गुड्स जैसे कि टोबैको या कार या इस तरह के जो एकदम एक्सट्रीम लग्जोरियस आइटम जो कि रोजमर्रा की चीजों के या आम आदमी के कंजम्पशन की चीज नहीं है, उनको छोड़ दिया जाए 5-10 आइटमों को, तो ज्यादातर आइटम पे 18% में लाया गया उसको, और कुछ आइटमों पे 12% भी किया गया, 5% भी किया गया। तो अगर रेट ऑफ टैक्स के हिसाब से देखें तो फिटमेंट कमेटी ने एक अच्छा काम किया। जो प्रपोजल था वो ज्यादातर केसेस में मेरे ओपिनियन में रेट बढ़ी नहीं। हालांकि अगर आप टैक्स इनवॉइस को देखें तो उसमें ये चीज रिफ्लेक्ट जरूरी नहीं है कि वो हो, क्योंकि अगर आप मान लीजिए कोई आइटम को वैट में खरीद रहे थे तो उसमें सिर्फ वैट आपको दिखाई दे रहा था जो कि 12% था। उसमें सेंट्रल एक्साइज मैन्युफैक्चरर के लेवल में क्या लगा हुआ है, वो जब आप दुकान से जाकर के आप टूथब्रश एक खरीदते हो तो उसमें सेंट्रल एक्साइज कितना उसमें लगा हुआ है वो तो आपका इनवॉइस नहीं बताता है। इनवॉइस तो सिर्फ आपको वैट बताता है, और जो कंज्यूमर होता है वो समझता है कि अरे इसमें तो 5% वैट लग रहा था या 12% लग रहा था, अब तो ये जीएसटी 12% लगने लग गया। लेकिन आप ये भूल जाते हैं कि उसका कहीं ना कहीं उत्पाद हुआ, मैन्युफैक्चर हुआ, मैन्युफैक्चर पे सेंट्रल एक्साइज लगी, सेंट्रल एक्साइज से वो होलसेलर के पास गया या डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के पास गया, वहां से रिटेलर के पास गया और फिर कंज्यूमर तक आया। और इस सारी चेन में जो सेंट्रल एक्साइज ड्यूटी लगी हुई थी उसकी कोई क्रेडिट मिलती ही नहीं थी। और वो जो सेंट्रल एक्साइज था वो जो आप एज ए कंज्यूमर जब आप कोई आइटम को जनरल स्टोर से या अमेज़न से या कहीं से भी खरीदते थे तो उसमें कहीं भी उसका रिफ्लेक्शन ही नहीं होता था। तो ये एक भ्रम की स्थिति लोगों ने पैदा की या हो गई कि भाई रेट ऑफ टैक्स बढ़ गया है और चीजों का दाम बढ़ गया है। तो जब सरकार ने ये किया कि भाई जब ज्यादातर चीजों का रेट ऑफ टैक्स कम हो गया तो सरकार ने ये चाहा कि भाई जहां जहां रेट ऑफ टैक्स अगर आपका सेंट्रल एक्साइज के रेजिम में और वैट रेजिम में जब रेट ऑफ टैक्स कम हुआ है तो उसका लाभ कंज्यूमर तक पहुंचना चाहिए। तो ऐसी परिस्थिति में द बेनिफिट ऑफ रिडक्शन इन द रेट ऑफ टैक्स शुड एक्रू टू द कंज्यूमर, एंड इफ दैट इज नॉट डन then this anti-profiteering mechanism will come into the picture and it can be invoked and then the action can be taken. We'll discuss about all that a bit later on. So the first thing is that if the rate of tax has reduced as a result of introduction of GST or the levy of GST or at any time after the levy of GST, then the benefit should be passed on to the consumer. And the second anxiety of the government was that if the benefit of ITC is there due to GST, then that also should be passed on to the consumer. मैं इसकी लॉ में जो एग्जैक्ट लैंग्वेज है, लेट मी रीड आउट दैट सेक्शन 171 सबसेक्शन 1 which is the soul of this anti-profiteering provision. Any reduction in the rate of tax on any supply of goods or services or the benefit of input tax credit shall be passed on to the recipient by way of commensurate reduction in prices. तो या तो रिडक्शन ऑफ टैक्स हुआ है या बेनिफिट ऑफ इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट, दोनों में से कुछ भी अगर है तो वो कंज्यूमर को पास ऑन होना चाहिए। इसमें कुछ लोगों का ओपिनियन है कि ये सिर्फ जीएसटी रेजिम में अगर रेट ऑफ टैक्स का रिडक्शन हुआ है या जीएसटी में कोई आपके इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट की बेनिफिट हुई है तभी ये प्रोविजन इन्वोक किया जा सकता है ट्रांजिशनल पीरियड में, जबकि आप एस्टवाइल रेजिम से जीएसटी में आए उसमें कोई रेट ऑफ टैक्स रिड्यूस हुआ या उसमें कोई इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट का रिडक्शन हुआ, उसकी बेनिफिट आपको नहीं मिलेगी। ये मेरे हिसाब से बिल्कुल ही गलत राय है, बिकॉज इस एंटी प्रोविटरिंग प्रोविजन को लाने का उद्देश्य यही था कि जब जीएसटी लॉ पुराने रेजिम से नई रेजिम में आए तो रेट ऑफ टैक्स की रिडक्शन का और इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट के बेनिफिट का जो लाभ है वो उपभोक्ता को मिलना चाहिए। उपभोक्ता ही होता है ना, कंज्यूमर, तो उपभोक्ता को मिलना चाहिए। अब बेनिफिट ऑफ इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट की अगर बात करें तो मेरे नजर में आप चाहे कंज्यूमर, आप चाहे मैन्युफैक्चरर को ले लीजिए, चाहे आम दुकानदार को ले लीजिए, चाहे रिटेलर को ले लीजिए, सभी को इसका बेनिफिट हुआ। इसका कारण ये है कि इन द एस्टवाइल एरा जो वैट की क्रेडिट थी वो सिर्फ वैट के अगेंस्ट में यूटिलाइज हो सकती थी, सीएसटी की कोई क्रेडिट मिलती ही नहीं थी, एंट्री टैक्स की कोई क्रेडिट मिलती नहीं थी, सर्विस टैक्स की क्रेडिट सिर्फ सेंट्रल एक्साइज या सर्विस टैक्स के अगेंस्ट में हो सकती थी। सेंट्रल एक्साइज की क्रेडिट आप सिर्फ सेंट्रल एक्साइज या सर्विस टैक्स का पेमेंट के लिए इस्तेमाल कर सकते थे। तो ये जो इंटर हेड एडजस्टमेंट था नहीं, विच वॉज टोटली एलिमिनेटेड इन द जीएसटी रेजिम। एक एग्जाम्पल अगर किसी एक दुकानदार का लें तो दुकानदार की दुकान में मान लीजिए उसने फर्नीचर्स रखे हुए हैं जिसमें वैट लगता है, तो उसकी क्रेडिट उसको पुराने रेजिम में सिर्फ वैट के अगेंस्ट में मिलती थी। लेकिन अगर उसका मान लीजिए कोई ट्रांसपोर्ट करने के लिए वो जो उसके मटेरियल आ रहे हैं और उसमें रिवर्स चार्ज में वो सर्विस टैक्स दे रहा है, तो उसकी बेनिफिट उसको नहीं मिलती थी सर्विस टैक्स की। लेकिन या मान लीजिए वो रेंट दे रहा है, भाड़ा चुका रहा है, भाड़े पे उसके जो सर्विस टैक्स लग रहा है उसकी कोई क्रेडिट उसको नहीं मिल रही थी। उसका टेलीफोन बिल आ रहा है, उसकी कोई सर्विस टैक्स क्रेडिट उसको नहीं मिलती थी। इस तरह से बहुत सारे आइटम है जो कि छोटी स्टैब्लिशमेंट चलाने के लिए भी आपको सर्विस टैक्स का भुगतान करना पड़ता है। इसके अलावा उसके मान लीजिए जो फर्नीचर है, फिक्सचर्स है, या जो उसके जो अदर स्टैब्लिशमेंट कॉस्ट है, उसमें जो सेंट्रल एक्साइज ड्यूटी लगी हुई है जो कि मैन्युफैक्चरर लेवल पे लगी हुई है, उसका कोई क्रेडिट का बेनिफिट उसको नहीं मिल रहा था। अब जीएसटी आने के बाद उसको हर चीज की क्रेडिट मिल रही है। उसके चाहे कोई भी आइटम पे किसी भी स्टेज में अगर जीएसटी लगा हुआ है तो उसकी फुल बेनिफिट ऑफ क्रेडिट उसको मिलेगी। इसी तरह से एक मैन्युफैक्चरर को भी सीएसटी की क्रेडिट, एंट्री टैक्स की क्रेडिट या और बहुत सारी चीजों की जो क्रेडिट नहीं मिल पा रही थी उसकी क्रेडिट अब उसको मिल रही है। या मैन्युफैक्चरर के मान लीजिए उसके जो डिपो थे या उसके जो दूसरे जो उसके जो ऑफिसें थी उसमें जो उसका जो वेस्टेज ऑफ टैक्स हो रहा था, जो कैस्केडिंग इफेक्ट ऑफ टैक्स क्रिएट कर रहा था, उसकी बेनिफिट जो नहीं मिल रही थी उसका जीएसटी रेजाइम में उसको बेनिफिट हुआ। So the objective of the government was this benefit of the input tax credit, which is accrued to any organization, should be passed on to the consumer. So this was the prima facie basic goal of the introduction of this anti-profiteering provision. So while the object of the introduction of this anti-profiteering provision was very noble, but the manner in which was implemented, I would say, is far from satisfactory, because the difficulty is that there is no mechanism in the law at all in the first place as to how this will be implemented. There is absolutely no mechanism. There is zero mechanism in the law. It is all to the whims and fancies of the administrative officer to decide and hang somebody and say that no, you have profiteer. Now, how you have profiteer, it is up to the authority to decide. Now, I will tell you why. Now, if you look at rule 126, देखिए सेक्शन में ज्यादा कुछ लिखा हुआ नहीं है। सेक्शन 171 जो कि एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग लॉ का मेन इंप्लीमेंटेशन का आइडिया देता है या कानून है, वो सिर्फ इतना ही बताता है कि द बेनिफिट इन द रिडक्शन ऑफ rate of tax or the benefit in the input tax credit shall be passed on to the recipient by way of commensurate reduction in price. तो आपकी बेस प्राइस से आपको उसका बेनिफिट जो भी आपको रेट ऑफ टैक्स का या रिडक्शन इन रेट ऑफ टैक्स का या बेनिफिट इन इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट का अगर कुछ हुआ है तो आपको कंज्यूमर को पास ऑन करना पड़ेगा। सेक्शन इतनी ही बात बताता है। अब ये बाकी सारी बातों को रूल में छोड़ दिया गया है कि इसको कैसे इंप्लीमेंट किया जाए। रूल जो है एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग का वो 122 से आपका 137 तक है। अब इसके अंदर में रूल 122 बताता है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन कैसे होगा अथॉरिटी का, उसमें कौन कौन मेंबर होंगे, उसका चेयरमैन कौन होगा। तो 122 बताता है कि इसका एक चेयरमैन होगा विच विल बी इक्विवेलेंट टू द सेक्रेटरी ऑफ ए गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एंड देयर विल बी 4 टेक्निकल मेंबर्स, जिसमें से कमिश्नर ऑफ स्टेट टैक्स भी होगा और कमिश्नर ऑफ सेंट्रल टैक्स का रैंक का होगा, और दे विल बी नॉमिनेटेड बाय द जीएसटी काउंसिल। Then you see there is a 3 level of screening. Once a complaint is lodged, either by a consumer or by anybody, even by your competitor, to trouble you, or your enemy, that you are profiteering, and somebody wants to put you simply into some sort of trouble with the authority. So he lodges a complaint with you, against you. Now, there are 3 levels of screening to ensure that these frivolous complaints are eliminated at those levels. There is a standing committee, there is a screening committee, and then there is a Director General of Anti-Profiteering. तो पहले मामला स्टैंडिंग कमिटी के पास जाएगा। Then prima facie, if the standing committee is satisfied that there is some material in the complaint, then they will send it to the screening committee. Then that screening committee also prima facie satisfy themselves whether there is a element of anti-profiteering, and then that committee will ultimately send it to Director General of Anti-Profiteering. Now this Director General of Anti-Profiteering will do a detailed investigation as to whether the anti-profiteering has happened or not. Now how will they do it? There is no mechanism in the law whatsoever. Rule 126 says that the authority may determine the methodology and the procedure for determination as to whether the reduction in the rate of tax on the supply of goods or services or the benefit of input tax credit has been passed on by the registered person to the recipient by way of commensurate reduction in the price. तो अथॉरिटी को पूरा अधिकार है ये तय करने का कि वो कौन सा तरीका अपनाएगी या कौन सा प्रोसीड्यूर अडॉप्ट करेगी to come to a conclusion that anti-profiteering has taken place. Now the law is totally silent about it, so it is totally arbitrary. So somebody who is supposed to adjudicate against you, they will determine the procedure, they will determine the mechanism, and you are not even supposed to know. They will come to a conclusion through the investigation. You will get an opportunity of hearing and all that. That is a separate matter altogether. But if I am supposed to defend myself, then I must know that what are the parameters on the basis of which you are going to decide the outcome against me as to whether I have done the anti-profiteering or not. You will keep investigating against me. You will keep asking for the details and documents. You will hold discussion, but you will not tell me as to what is my method to determine or decide against me as to how I am going to come to the conclusion. So how am I supposed to defend myself? आज लॉ की प्रिंसिपल ऑफ नेचुरल जस्टिस की बेसिक क्राइटेरिया ये है कि आप तब तक अपने आप को इफेक्टिवली डिफेंड नहीं कर सकते जब तक आपको मालूम नहीं हो कि आपके अगेंस्ट में केस क्या है और बेसिस क्या है। यहां पर केस तो आपको बताया जाएगा कि आपके अगेंस्ट में ये कंप्लेन आई है और आप एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग में इंडल्ज कर रहे हो, आप डेटा देना, आपसे वो डेटा मांगना चालू कर देंगे, वो तमाम तरह की डिटेल मांगेंगे। और लॉ में उसके बारे में भी एक वेगनेस है, ये बोलता है कि द डिटेल्स which they can ask for is the description of goods or services, summary of the statement of facts on which the allegations are based, and the timeline allowed to the interested parties and other person who may have information related to the proceeding for furnishing their reply. And the Director General of Anti-Profiteering may also issue notices to such other persons as deemed fit for a fair inquiry into the matter. So, वो सिर्फ आपसे ही नहीं और भी किसी से अगर उनको समझ में आता है कि भी आप एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग कर रहे हैं, वो किसी को भी बुला सकते हैं, किसी से कोई भी स्टेटमेंट ले सकते हैं, कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर सकते हैं, एंड देन दे कैन कम टू ए कंक्लूजन एज टू वेदर एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग हैज हैपेंड और नॉट, एंड ऑफ कोर्स दे हैव द पावर टू समन यू. And after you see undergoing all this process, they can come to a conclusion that anti-profiteering has taken place. तो मुख्यतः मैं ये बताना चाहता हूं कि एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग अंडर व्हाट सर्कमस्टेंसेस एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग में किक इन. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इफ एनी रिडक्शन इन रेट ऑफ टैक्स हैज टेकन प्लेस, or if any benefit of input tax credit has accrued to you. If either of these two conditions are satisfied, then on the basis of a complaint lodged, the anti-profiteering mechanism can be set into motion, and once it is set into motion, then the procedure to determine and to arrive at the conclusion about whether anti-profiteering has happened or not is totally arbitrary. There is no mechanism prescribed in the law whatsoever. It is up to the authority to decide the mechanism. It is up to the authority to decide the procedure. And these are the reasons which is why this section 171 and several of the rules are under challenge before the High Court. The constitutional validity of itself is under challenge. Whether this provision is valid or not is under challenge. Because how can you determine whether somebody has profited or whether somebody has passed on the benefit or not? There is one very interesting case, you see, whereby the matter was decided against the concerned registered person, and that registered person happened to be a cinema exhibition theater owner. And the case was made out that the government has reduced the rate of tax from 18% to 12% on tickets price below rupees 100. So a process was set into motion that they have not passed on the benefit of the reduction in the price. But you see, when we go to the cinema hall, we know very well that the price of the cinema ticket fluctuates from show to show, from movies to movies, from day to day. If you go to watch the same movie on Monday, the price is different. If you go on a Sunday, the price is different. If you go in a morning show, the price is different. If you go in a noon show, the price is different. So the theater owner decides the price of the ticket on a day-to-day variable. And then also, you see, if the movie is running to a packed capacity, then they will continue to keep the price at a higher level. If the movie is not doing so well, then they will reduce the price in the subsequent week or maybe even after a couple of days itself. So it is totally driven by the demand and supply. उस मूवी की क्या डिमांड है, उस पर्टिकुलर शो में उस मूवी की क्या डिमांड है, उसके बेसिस पे वो प्राइस सेट इन करता है, which is totally linked to demand and supply, and we are a free economy. We are not an economy where the price is regulated by the government as to at which price we can sell our goods. We can make a superlative profit. There is no restriction in the law whatsoever. So how can the authority come to a conclusion that I have profiteered and so the penalty be levied against me? And in that particular case which I am talking about, which Sakshi will deal with in greater detail, is that they came to the conclusion that profiteering has taken place on the basis of some arbitrary mechanism or whatever they did. You see, we will not be able to understand the whole of it just by reading out the case law which is reported in the public domain, because the process is very detailed and the judgment which comes out is only a very brief synopsis of the total event which has taken place. So I don't think that by reading the few judgments on the anti-profiteering we can become an expert on this particular subject, because nobody can become expert. If there is a law which tells me as to how I'm supposed to defend myself, then only I can give you any guidance or lecture about how you should defend yourself. Because you see, as a professional, I think as a CA, you will be engaged by your client to defend before the authority if suppose a case is initiated, or suppose if the case is decided against you, then somebody like me, being an advocate, will come into the picture to defend you before the court. But the fact of the matter is that at the level of the chartered accountant, my job is much more easier before the court of law, because I have an outcome with me, and on the basis of the outcome or the judgment which is there, I can make out a case that this is arbitrary, and if it is arbitrary, then this is violation of Article 14 of the Constitution of India. And you see, there are various other constitutional safeguards which I can rely upon and defend my client before a High Court or Supreme Court. But the task of a chartered accountant is very, very difficult, who is supposed to assist the client before the authority themselves. To defend before the authority, you should know the rule of the game. Now, the rule of the game, they can change at any point of time in the course itself, because it is not that they initiate the case and they tell you that this is the rule of the game, this is the procedure which I am going to follow while deciding the outcome against you. They will decide their own procedure. And ये वैसे बात हो गई कि भाई एक क्रिकेट का मैच स्टार्ट हुआ, उसके बाद वन टीम बोले कि भैया हम तो इसमें ये चौका होगा कि छक्का होगा कि आउट होगा, ये तो मैं डिसाइड करूंगा, आप तो बस खेलो, आपका काम है बैट और बॉल लेकर के आना, उसके बाद अब आप जीते कि हारे ये डिसीजन लेना मेरा काम है. It is so arbitrary according to me. In many of the cases which have been decided, the formula which they have adopted is input tax credit to turnover ratio. But मेरे हिसाब से इसका कोई मतलब नहीं है, because you see there are various factors which plays its role in deciding the outcome of the price, and therefore just to decide the outcome on the basis of one or two parameter is, according to me, totally arbitrary and unjustified and unfair. So now I will request my colleague Sakshi to take over and give you a PowerPoint presentation where I think she will take you through the relevant provision of the law in greater detail, and she will discuss some of the judgments of the anti-profiteering authority which have been pronounced upon, which are, I think, you may have some enlightenment about how the authority is going or playing its role or playing its game. So now I hand over the proceedings to my colleague Sakshi. She will give a PowerPoint presentation. Sakshi, you take over now. उसमें खुला हुआ है।
Hello everyone. Firstly, thank you so much, sir, for such a lovely deliberation. I'm sure कि बहुत कुछ तो हम already समझ चुके हैं, and yes, we've had a very nice kind of a summary of the entire provision of anti-profiteering under GST. And now I'll just share my screen. Please just let me know if the screen is visible. Screen visible है?
हाँ जी मैम, विजिबल है।
Okay. Thank you so much. So, we have discussed the basics of anti-profiteering की किस instances, कौन से वो instances है जहाँ पे anti-profiteering provisions would kick in. It's covered under section 171. We've also discussed about the background of anti-profiteering and how the idea of inflation and that हम नहीं चाहते कि जितनी भी गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज सेल हो रहे हों आफ्टर जीएसटी उनके प्राइसेस में बहुत ज़्यादा इंक्रीज हो जाए उनके प्राइसेस, विच इज़ वाई दिस पर्टिकुलर concept of anti-profiteering was introduced. So the main idea again was that India, क्योंकि एक price sensitive market है, हम prices पे बहुत ज़्यादा focus करते हैं as consumers. So yes, अगर inflation बहुत ज़्यादा रहेगा country में तो that would affect everybody at large and the consumers at large. And also, like sir has already told us about the international experience कि बाकी जितने भी countries थे वहाँ जिस तरह से GST जब roll out हुआ, inflation increased. For example, if you look at Australia, so from 1.9% to 5.8% was their retail inflation सिर्फ GST roll out होने की वजह से. So that is a very huge impact. That creates a very huge impact if we look at the macroeconomic level, because 1.9 to 5.8%. So the idea was कि नहीं हम ये नहीं चाहते कि ऐसा हो, because of which India also introduced. But हमने क्या गलती की, हमने मलेशिया से नहीं सीखा, हमने ऑस्ट्रेलिया से सीखा, मलेशिया से नहीं सीखा. मलेशिया ने एंटी प्रॉफिटियरिंग को लेके एक प्रॉपर मैकेनिज्म फॉर्मुलेट किया था. The anti-profiteering authority was set up much before GST was rolled out in Malaysia, and because of which the entire system that happened जो वहाँ पे follow हुआ वो काफ़ी साइंटिफिक थे एंड काफ़ी साइंटिफिक था, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ विच इट वॉज, वी कैन से टू अ लार्ज एक्सटेंट अ सक्सेस. But which what we are witnessing right now at the ground level in India, that is not something which is happening. So the international experience says this only कि inflation बढ़ा ही है, and let's see what exactly was what were the functions that the National Anti-Profiteering Authority was supposed to have, and they're following. So the National Anti-Profiteering Authority is required to determine whether ITC का benefit pass on हुआ है कि नहीं, या फिर tax rates अगर reduce हुए तो in that case whether that benefit has been passed on to the ultimate consumers or not. They will also identify the registered persons कि कौन है वो जिन्होंने pass on नहीं किया है benefit, and accordingly उनका order क्या होगा last में, they will order for reduction in prices. बोलेंगे कि आप रिटर्न करो रेसिपिएंट को जितना भी एक्सेस प्रॉफिट आपने अर्न किया है इस इंटायर प्रोसेस में, एंड दे वुड ऑल्सो इम्पोज अ पेनल्टी, एंड कभी कभी रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिलेशन होने का नौबत भी आ सकता है. So these were the basic things that could happen, that are actually happening. Also, क्योंकि बहुत केसेस में ऐसा होता है कि द रेसिपिएंट इज नॉट आइडेंटिफाइबल. General consumers, if you're going to a movie hall, if you're going to a restaurant, there's so many people, footfall बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, and वहाँ पे the recipient is not identifiable, so it's not possible to return to the recipient, which is why in those cases consumer welfare fund में जितना भी profiteered amount है, that has to be deposited. So these are the functions of the National Anti-Profiteering Authority. After this, we come to Section 171, which governs the provisions with respect to anti-profiteering. So has already explained us the entire provision at length, and इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा तो obviously कुछ prescribed है ही नहीं, सिर्फ इतना बोल रहा है कि yes, if there is any reduction in rate of tax or any supplier is getting the benefit of ITC, in that case, the recipient should get that benefit by commensurate reduction in prices. That is it. Nothing else has been specified. A very important aspect that has to be looked at over here is that penalty provision जो है anti profiteering का, section 171 subsection 3A, this was inserted with effect from 1st January 2020. Anti-profiteering is something that has to be there, that should have been there. अगर आइडिया इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करना था, it should have been there from 2017, which it is, वो है हमेशा से, but the penalty provision was inserted on 1st January 2020, much later. तो ऑब्वियसली उसके पहले के जितने भी केसेस है, मैक्सिमम केसेस उसके पहले हो चुके हैं, तो उसके पहले के जितने भी केसेस है, if you look at the judgments right now, none of them thankfully उस पर किसी भी पेनल्टी नहीं लगा, and 10% of the amount profiteered is the amount of penalty which has been prescribed. Now, अभी तक जितना भी हमने डिस्कशन किया, सब जगह commensurate reduction in prices. This word commensurate, what does it mean? अगर हमें बोला जा रहा है कि आपको बेनिफिट पास ऑन करना है बाय वे ऑफ commensurate reduction in prices, then what does this word mean? It means in proportion or corresponding in size or degree. So again, this is also something very vague. When we're saying in proportion to the benefit that we've received, then what does it mean? Does it mean I have to pass on the entire benefit? Does it mean I have to pass it on in a certain percentage? So that is another point of question. The next thing, obviously, sir has already told us about the constitutional validity of Section 171, which has been challenged before the High Court, before the Delhi High Court. And these are some of the companies which have challenged among a lot others. So these are some of the companies that you're seeing on screen, like Lightcon Industries, Samsung, Whirlpool, Cilantro, Apex Meadows, etc. They've all challenged the constitutional validity and the wires of Section 171 of the CGST Act. That ये provision आखिर है ही क्यों? Now, यहाँ तक हमने डिस्कस किया अबाउट द लॉ प्रोविजंस, क्या क्या सेक्शन में लिखा हुआ है, एक्ट में क्या क्या लिखा हुआ है. नाउ of course, when there is some profiteering that's happening, in that case, how is it that we go and file a complaint? And complaint file कौन कर सकता है? So any consumer, let me tell you, this entire thing that you're seeing on screen, this is not written in the law. ये एक्ट में नहीं है, रूल्स में नहीं है. दिस इज पुट अप एज एन FAQ ऑन द नेशनल एंटी प्रॉफिटियरिंग अथॉरिटीज वेबसाइट. दैट्स इट, कि ये सब, दीज आर द पर्सन्स हु कैन गो एंड फाइल अ कंप्लेंट. सो एनी कंज्यूमर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिनको बेनिफिट पास ऑन नहीं हुआ बिकॉज ऑफ रेट रिडक्शन या फिर ITC, उनको बेनिफिट अगर पास ऑन नहीं हुआ, दे कैन फाइल अ कंप्लेंट. और एनी सप्लायर, ट्रेडर, होलसेलर, रिटेलर, एनी काइंड ऑफ अ सप्लायर who could not get the benefit of ITC because उनके supplier ने उनको benefit pass on नहीं किया, or else any interested party, commissioner, any person apart from that, they can file a complaint. अब complaint कैसे file करें? We can file it online, by an email or by post. Email or postal addresses have been already mentioned, and the online procedure is right here on screen. So there's this website of the National Anti-Profiteering Authority, www.naa.gov.in. यहाँ हम जाते हैं. It's a very smooth process by which we can file an online complaint against any supplier. First we have to register. हमें एक registration form fill up करना होगा जिसमें कुछ basic details होते हैं, and उसके बाद हमें एक login ID और password मिलेगा. after which we can make the complaint using that particular login ID. So we can make the complaint and वहाँ उसके बाद हम उसको track कर सकते हैं. We can look at the history of the complaints, जो भी profile edit करने के features etc. All of that is there in that particular website. And then of course we can make a complaint. We need to have an evidence. It's not a vague complaint that we can just put ki, oh, XYZ company is profiteering in this particular against this particular notification or whatever it is. We cannot make a complaint very arbitrarily. We have to give some sort of an evidence कि हाँ ये हमारा proof है हमारे पास that yes they are profiteering out of it. So that is the entire process by which we can file an online complaint. अब complaint हो गया, उसके बाद next what? After that comes the authorities, which already sir has explained to us that there is a screening and standing committee. Then we have the Director General of Anti-Profiteering, and finally the National Anti-Profiteering Authority. अब ये जो तीन अलग-अलग levels है हमारे पास, what is the procedure that they follow? किस तरह से वो पूरा anti-profiteering के against जो भी action लेना है, how do they do the necessary job? So in this case, Rule 128 of the CGST rules govern the entire process by which the authority is going to do the adjudication. तो सबसे पहले स्टैंडिंग कमिटी को 2 months का टाइम मिलता है जिसमें दे हैव टू फाइंड आउट कि हाँ एक बेसिक prima facie evidence that yes the applicant whoever has made this particular application they have a prima facie evidence in support of their claim and that yes कि ऐसा profiteering हो सकता है यहाँ हो रहा हो. So in that case, the standing committee, what will it do? It is going to, once it is satisfied that yes, यहाँ पे कुछ गड़बड़ है, in that case, it will be forwarded to the DGAP. Now, similarly, just like the standing committee, we have the screening committee. The screening committee looks after the applications of, it's mentioned, which are of local nature. Normally, we can say related to a particular state. So in this case, स्क्रीनिंग कमिटी को या तो स्टैंडिंग कमिटी से मिलता है एप्लीकेशन या फिर डायरेक्टली थ्रू द इंटरेस्टेड पार्टीज जो एप्लीकेशन जैसी अलॉटमेंट होगा. सो इट कैन डायरेक्टली आल्सो गो टू द स्क्रीनिंग कमिटी और इट कैन कम फ्रॉम द स्टैंडिंग कमिटी. अगेन द स्क्रीनिंग कमिटी आल्सो गेट्स 2 months टाइम टू मेक दिस पर्टिकुलर एनालिसिस कि हाँ प्राइमा फेसी एविडेंस है दैट देयर इज प्रॉफिटियरिंग व्हिच इज हैपनिंग. After that, the standing committee or the screening committee, जैसा उन्होंने Director General of Anti-Profiteering को अपना जो भी details, whatever they have found out, they've given, the DGAP is going to go for a detailed investigation. मतलब अब main process अब start होता है. DGAP क्या करता है? DGAP will call for records, will do the necessary calculations, and जो भी analysis करना है at a proper detailed level that would be done by the DGAP. The DGAP will collect all the information, evidences, etc., which are necessary to determine whether the reduction in rate of tax or the benefit of ITC has been passed on to the recipient or not. So this entire thing would be done by the DGAP. Now, in this process of investigation, DGAP क्या करेगा? DGAP सबसे पहले तो एक नोटिस इशू करेगा टू द इंटरेस्टिंग पार्टीज जिसमें क्या क्या डिटेल्स होंगे, डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ गुड्स, समरी ऑफ स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फैक्ट्स and the time limit that has been allowed to the interested parties to provide the information. So all that notice, all that information would be called for, asked for, and uske baad based on whatever reply the DGAP is getting, based on whatever evidence the DGAP has with himself, based on all of that, it's saying that the investigation within a period of 6 months it will be completed by the DGAP and इस पूरे investigation का report National Anti-Profiteering Authority को submit होगा. So what we've seen is the screening of the standing committee is going to the DGAP. The DGAP is going to the National Anti-Profiteering Authority with a detailed investigation report that sir this is the relevant facts of the case and this is my analysis. Now after it has gone to the National Anti-Profiteering Authority, that is when the authority will hear the matter. Of course, an opportunity of hearing would be provided to the interested parties, and finally, a judgment would be pronounced. That is the entire process in which we get any kind of a ruling under the National Anti-Profiteering Authority. The next very interesting thing that you're seeing on screen right now is the double MRP label. Now, what is the double MRP label? वी ऑल नो कि हम कभी भी कोई प्रोडक्ट परचेज करने जाते हैं तो उस पर एक MRP टैग लगा होता है, राइट? MRP इज द मैक्सिमम रिटेल प्राइस. नाउ जब GST इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ and also when the rates of taxes in the middle were changed, at that time the Consumer Affairs Ministry allowed कि आप 2 MRP labels लगा सकते हो in your product, on your product. So whatever pre-packaged commodities have already been supplied in the market, have been disassembled in the market, वो सारे प्रोडक्ट्स पे डबल MRP लेबल लगने का परमिशन कंज्यूमर्स अफेयर्स मिनिस्ट्री ने दे दिया था. सो द फर्स्ट टाइम इट गेव वाज व्हेन GST वाज रोल्ड आउट. द सेकंड, इफ यू कैन रिकॉल, सबसे ज़्यादा सर्विसेज और गुड्स के रेट्स चेंज हुए थे November 17, if I'm not wrong, 15th November 2017, that time, and finally in July 18. So these were those three important time when this particular notification was let out. Now, was anti-profiteering really a necessity? हम अभी तक बात कर रहे थे दैट एंटी प्रॉफिटियरिंग का प्रोविजन इसीलिए है बिकॉज इन्फ्लेशन ताकि कंट्रोल हो जाए एट्सेट्रा एट्सेट्रा. बट अनदर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट व्हाई एंटी प्रॉफिटियरिंग वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इज दैट जब GST इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ, इट वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड ऑन 1st July 2017, there could be n number of contracts which were entered into prior to 1/7/2017 but which remained ongoing as on the date when GST was introduced. अब सिंपल सा बात इतना है कि before 1st July 2017 the old rates, the old taxes were charged on those particular contract. Of course contract पे जो भी agreed rate है जिस पे contract has been entered, the contract value, वो तो पहले से determined है, but the rate of tax and the tax itself is changing from a particular date in the middle of the contract when it is ongoing. इस particular case में क्या होगा? Does the consumer have a safeguard? The consumer has already entered into a contract, say X amount plus taxes, applicable taxes. In that case, what will happen? Say for example, it is a building construction that's going on, or a complex or a residential apartment or something. We all know कि ये सारे construction activities जितने भी होते हैं, the entire lifespan, the construction span is huge. Time लगता है 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It could be more than that also. So in that case, what will happen is, how will the consumer will have to pay more if it's saying that X amount पे आपने purchase किया है plus आपको applicable taxes pay करने हैं. तो obviously the rate of taxes, if they have changed, say for example पहले in the VAT regime there was 4.5% on works contract, and अलग-अलग states में अलग-अलग rates applicable थे, and after GST we have 18% after with 1/3 abatement, so effectively 12%, etc. तो क्या हो रहा है that the rate of tax had actually increased. अगर हम सिर्फ VAT और GST को compare करें, especially in construction अगर बात करें तो, and if the contract is ongoing, in that case the consumer is the one who is going to be at loss, क्योंकि अगर सिर्फ base amount पे tax का amount add कर दिया जाए, in that case of course the consumer will have to pay more, but the benefit of ITC is what is going to reduce the amount that he's supposed to pay. So how can buyers of under construction flats benefit from the anti-profiteering provisions? Of course, the builders, the real estate developers, they are supposed to pass on the benefit of ITC, which they're going to receive post introduction of GST, and of course accordingly charge the buyers after passing on that particular benefit. So yes, इस particular aspect से अगर हम देखें तो anti profiteering was very much required, and it's not just under construction property for buyers. There's a lot of other contracts which are entered into पहले before the GST regime, और construction या फिर जो भी contractual activities है वो continue हो रहे as on the date when GST was introduced. So of course we can say for the ongoing contracts it was very much required. But we'll obviously look at the situation now that yes, जो ऐसे contractual obligations थे जब वो नहीं है तो in that case whether anti profiteering is required or not. Before we get into that, let's have a look at some case laws which have been pronounced by the National Anti Profiteering Authority. And of course, we'll also look at the premise, the ratio behind that particular ruling, the judgment, etc. The first one that we've picked up is Kumar Gandharva versus KRBL Limited. This matter was that जो applicant है उन्होंने complain किया that the rate of the amount that they're charging for India Gate Basmati rice, branded rice, is was earlier 540 and now it is 585, and the product was not taxable prior to the GST regime, और 22 सितंबर 2017 के बाद से उस पे GST 5% लेवी हो रहा था with the availability of ITC. Now, interestingly, the judgment came in favor of the company who was charging this particular amount of 585 from the customers, saying that नहीं, क्योंकि उन्होंने as such उन्हें कोई benefit नहीं मिल रहा है इस particular case से, because the amount of ITC that they're getting is much less than the amount of output tax that is payable, and hence anti-profiteering was not being violated in this particular case. But this is one case like that. We have n number of cases where anti-profiteering established hua hai, out of which one is Sukhbir Rohila versus Pyramid Infratech Private Limited. In this case, what happened was that there was a project that was ongoing as on 1/7/2017, जो अभी हमने बात किया, that if there is a construction activity which is going on and contract was entered prior to the introduction of GST, in that case what is happening is that the applicants were burdened not only with excise duty and VAT which was levied prior to introduction of GST, but also GST 12% post introduction, effectively 12%. So in this case it was held that the tax rationalization, this entire process has not resulted although in a reduction of tax rate, but the benefit of ITC should be extended to the applicants, to the ultimate buyers, because पहले in the pre-GST era obviously excise का credit आपको VAT के साथ नहीं मिलेगा, so there was a lot of credits that were not available to the supplier, the developer, which is now available with the developers. So accordingly, the respondent had to pass on the benefit of that ITC in terms of reduction in the rate of whatever they're charging from the buyers. And यहाँ पे जो method use हुआ था was ratio of ITC to taxable turnover, which sir had already told us before that ITC का क्या percentage आ रहा है with respect to our taxable turnover. And this was the first case of its kind where this particular method was used. क्योंकि जैसा हम जानते हैं कि जो method prescribed है, what is the method prescribed under the anti-profiteering provisions? No method. The method prescribed is that there is no method. It will be determined on case-to-case basis. जैसे ही authority को समझ में आएगा, जो वहाँ पे उनको best लगेगा, उसके हिसाब से they will do. So for a taxpayer, for an assessee, to determine whether they're actually profiteering or not, it is very difficult because they don't know कि क्या किस तरह से calculation हो सकता है. Probably they have done this calculation of ITC to taxable turnover, but the authority does some other calculation later on. So of course there is a lot of ambiguity with respect to this, and this is what we should learn from the Malaysia model, that they had a proper scientific method devised much before GST was rolled out, and there was a lot of awareness among the consumers, the suppliers, that हाँ आपको ये follow करना है, which is not the case over here with us. The next case we're taking up is Ravi Charaya versus Hardcastle Restaurants Private Limited. In this case, what happened is, if you must be aware, on 15 November 2017, the GST rate for restaurant services were reduced from 18% to 5%, and 5% without ITC. तो यहाँ क्या हुआ था that this particular restaurant, what they had done was, out of their 1844 products, on 1730 products, they increased the base prices by 10.45%. What was the calculation behind it? We don't have any idea about that. How did they arrive at this figure, 10.45%? They had done their own calculation and they had increased the base prices. The base prices would definitely increase because 18% with ITC पहले मिल रहा था, अब 5% without ITC हो गया. So definitely the ITC component that would increase the amount of base price that these people are going to be charging, because the cost would definitely increase. And accordingly, उसपे tax rate 5% would be levied. So what they had done was base price plus 10.45%, उसपे ये लोग 5% collect कर रहे थे from the customers. But later it was established that there is a profiteering of the amount of 7 crore 49 lakhs something, and the calculation done by the authority, again ratio of ITC to taxable turnover, what they found out was no, ITC की वजह से 9.11% of the turnover should increase. The base price should increase. So 9.11% was allowed, but they had gone for 10.45%, which is why this particular amount, 7 crore 49 lakh, came up and they were supposed to make the payment. Now, interestingly, what happened after that was that this particular restaurant, they went for an appeal. They went to the High Court after this, and the premise on which this particular order was quashed was that out of 4 members in the bench, only 3 members heard the matter. So if you just try to analyze this entire case law, we'll find that it was just a mere probably 1.5%, not even 1.5%, because of which this entire case happened, which was later on quashed. Unnecessary time of the judiciary, probably. The next case that we're coming up with is NY Cinemas LLP, which Sir has already discussed with us, that cinema tickets, the movie tickets, उनका rate change हुआ था from 18% to 12%, where the admission ticket was priced at rupees 100 or less, with effect from 1st January 2019. यहाँ पे भी arbitrarily they calculated, they had, and in fact in the order also, if you have a look at the order, they mentioned about movies like Uri, Kesari, Captain Marvel, etc., and why these were somehow not included in the calculation because of certain reasons. But even then, how can they take just the random values that are maybe listed on a particular date or on a random date? Because what will happen is, say for example, आज रेट चेंज हुआ, हम 3 दिन तक अपना प्राइसेस सेम रखते हैं, ठीक है, नो चेंजेस. इफ वी चेंज इट ऑन द 4th day, will the anti-profiteering authority have a problem with that? Because everything that we're seeing, especially in this particular case, in the case of cinemas, there are so many other factors which Sir already told us before. Weekdays hai ki weekend hai, movie अच्छा चल रहा है कि नहीं चल रहा है, then if it's a new movie or an old movie, so many other factors which play their role. That yes, in fact, you go to different cinemas, the differently priced tickets, etc. So there's so many other factors, demand and supply, etc. You go to Inox, you pay a certain amount. You go to any random cinema hall, you pay a certain amount, because there are different factors which influence, and it's not just the benefit of ITC or the rate of tax, etc. So of course all those factors should ideally be considered, which probably are not being considered, which we're looking at after, मतलब जितने भी अपने case laws अगर देख रहे हैं, तो yes, there are a lot of things which are not being considered by the authority. The next one is of Messrs. Lodha Developers Limited. This is again a real estate matter like the one we discussed earlier. Here, the benefit of ITC was not passed on to the buyers of the flats in case of ongoing contracts as on the date of introduction of GST. So accordingly, उनको pass on करना पड़ा था benefit, and but no penalty was imposed under section 171 subsection 3A like we earlier discussed, because this was made effective from 1st January 2020. Now, we come to a very interesting case after this. Messrs. Dough Makers India Private Limited. We all know Subway. So this particular company is a franchisee, has taken a franchisee of Subway. And again, this is a restaurant service case with effect from 15th November 2017. Rates were reduced without the benefit of ITC, and it was held that they have profiteered to the tune of 78 lakh rupees, and they were asked to deposit it to the Consumer Welfare Fund. Of course, the recipients are not identifiable in this particular case, so Consumer Welfare Fund. Now, what was the method used in this particular case? The DGAP calculated profiteering based on the menu items. जितने भी menu items है, पहले rate क्या था, अब rate क्या है? Base prices pre rate change, post rate change. That was used. That base price used was compared, and accordingly, the ITC benefit which was withdrawn, that was accordingly adjusted. So this is another new method that in this particular case it was followed. But now what happened after this? Considering it is a franchisee of Subway, तो जब ये केस हुआ था, तब Subway, the company Subway, was also made a party in this particular case, a respondent in this particular case. After which, what did Subway do? It went to the Delhi High Court and it said कि I am not related to this matter. Obviously, Subway has given its franchisee, but ये जो taxpayer wise, obviously we have this GST registration based on PAN. So obviously, Subway is not responsible for any kind of profiteering that's happening in this particular case, which is why they filed a writ petition before the Delhi High Court, and it was finally pronounced that yes, Subway का नाम respondents से delete किया जाए, because Subway was also issued a notice and they were asked कि ना आप proof दीजिए payment हो गया है कि नहीं जो profiteered amount था उसका. So Subway was asked to give a proof of that, and then Subway went for this writ petition, and finally it came in their favor, which is why this particular thing that you're seeing on screen, this had made headlines that time, that all the multinationals which are operating through the franchisee model in India, they will definitely benefit under this anti-profiteering following the court order, considering that yes, जितने भी franchisee owners है, जो models multinational companies है, they will not be responsible for giving an answer in such cases. So it's a landmark judgment that had come specially concerning anti-profiteering authority. So this brings us to an end of all the case laws that we had selected for today's discussion. But there are certain questions that are still in the minds. For example, the first very important question that comes to our mind is, up to what period from the change of rate will this particular clause apply, like we already discussed. So simple सा question ये है कि आज अगर whatever goods or services I'm supplying, if the rate is reduced, now irrespective of the quality that I'm providing, irrespective of the demand of my product, can I never increase the prices? Can't I increase the prices, say just after the rate reduced, there was a surge in demand? Say, for example, there's a festive season coming, and the rates are definitely, going to increase for certain items which are used during the festivals. And इसी time अगर rate reduce हो जाए, will they not increase the prices of their products, irrespective of the demand that's there in the market? So there are these very economical factors that have to be taken into account, which are completely being disregarded because of this particular provision that's there. And there are many such businesses which are probably not being able to charge the correct amount that they're supposed to be charging because of this particular fear कि नहीं हम profiteering में आ जाएंगे. So this is a very important question कि या तो फिर law में ये चीज prescribed होना चाहिए that yes, the rate has been changed or whatever, and this is the benefit that you're getting, and this is the time period till which you cannot change the base price of your products, because sometime or the other the base price will change, and will then it be considered to be profiteering or not. Also, there's a sunset clause that has been given कि जिस दिन authority का chairman enters upon his office, उसके बाद से 4 years के बाद this particular provision will cease to have effect. The authority will cease to exist. Now the question is that 4 years के बाद rate change नहीं होगा, 4 years के बाद ITC का कुछ extra benefit नहीं मिलने वाला. What is it that will not happen after 4 years which is happening now? We can say that yes, the rates are changing very frequently right now, but the rates are supposed to be changing. In fact, we already know that the GST law has not settled down yet. There are a lot of changes which are continuously happening. Does it mean कि 4 years बाद अगर वो change होगा, the recipient will not get the benefit? But now that अभी अगर change हो रहा है तो the recipient is going to get the benefit. So this is another question, that why is it that the sunset clause is only for 4 years? Of course, when it comes to the ongoing contracts, it makes complete sense. But apart from that, the competition in the market, the demand and supply factors, those are what are going to take care of the prices itself, right? Because of which we can say that yes, if there is a sunset clause, means कि आज भी हो सकता है anti profiteering का जरूरत नहीं है. The relevance, we just see that yes, the GST rates are constantly being changed, and हो सकता है आगे चल के भी change होगा, तो the provision remains relevant. But what after 4 years? So the most important question which remains after this entire deliberation is anti-profiteering required at all? Considering that yes, there are factors like the raw material prices, competition, demand and supply, and so many other things. Can we neglect these factors? So with that, we come to an end of all the facts that were there. I would like to invite sir to continue from here. So
Yes, thank you everybody. This is all that we wanted to discuss regarding this topic. So we'll be happy to take any questions if any participants has.
सर क्वेश्चन तो कोई नहीं है, फिर भी किसी व्यूअर्स का कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो he or she can take. And before concluding the program, I convey my sincere thanks to Advocate Vinay Sharaf ji and Madam C.A. Shakshi ji for such a wonderful deliberations. हालांकि एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग का टॉपिक जैसे कि बताया कि सनसेट क्लॉज आ चुकी है, 4 साल पूरे हो चुके हैं, लेकिन इतनी रेलेवेंस अब नहीं रह गई है किस पर्पस के लिए आई थी. लेकिन सर ने फिर भी टॉपिक के साथ जस्टिस किया कि ये टॉपिक लाने, सब्जेक्ट लाने का गवर्नमेंट का उद्देश्य क्या था, why section 171 is inserted in the CGST Act. So sir, thank you so much for such a wonderful deliberation on the topic of anti-profiteering. I am also thank to Madam Sakshi ji for such a wonderful deliberations. Thank you viewers for spending their valuable time. Thank you Aapka Fayda and other association who are participating in GST Mahayag for making this event a grand success. Thank you everyone. Good day, good night.
Thank you. Namaskar. Dhanyawad. May I take your leave?